Maybe the second name on the ballot, but there have been some very memorable moments in past VP debates.
Let me help you with the difference, Ms. Ferraro, between Iran and the embassy in Lebanon.
I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Who am I? Why am I here?
Hey, can I call you Joe? Okay, go.
Oh, Admiral Stockdale, that was my favorite.
Absolutely. Well, this year, the candidates are facing some name recognition problems, though. A new ABC News poll shows that more than 40% of Americans can't name the VP nominee of either party.
So can tonight's debate impact the polls and help get their name out there? For a history lesson on the VP debates is the president of Rasmussen Media, Scott Rasmussen. Scott, nice to see you this morning. Why am I here?
Well, that's a good question for all of us. Why are we here? We're all talking about this incredible debate. But there's very little history or very little evidence that vice presidents in any shape or that the debates have an impact on the race. And something else in this history, only one person out of the couple of dozen who have taken part in the vice presidential debates have ever become president. That was the first President Bush, who debated in a VP role in 1984.
Let's take a look at this 2008 poll before and after the debate, the pre-debate poll, September 29th through October 1st. Obama-Biden ticket and the McCain-Palin ticket, 48% to 43%. What do you see in these numbers here?
Yeah, what you see afterwards, it shifts a couple of points, margin of error, no real impact. The big story in 2008, that vice presidential debate between Biden and Palin drew a bigger audience than the presidential debate. Drew 70 million people. The presidential candidates couldn't do that well. But still, the race was determined not by the vice presidential debate, not even by the presidential debate, but by the financial meltdown. That's something that we forget. These debates are a part of the picture, but it's what's going on in the entire campaign that voters are paying attention to.
It wasn't a problem with name recognition then for that particular race. Well, let's take a look at 2012 before and after the VP debate. You have the Romney-Ryan ticket at 46% before, Obama-Biden 45%, and then after the VP debate, Romney-Ryan 46% and Obama-Biden 46%. So, no movement.
Right,
Really.
and again, what you're looking at here is a sense that people are voting for the top of the ticket. We talk about the ticket as a combination, but when you're out in the streets talking to people, they're saying, are you voting for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton? So these candidates have their work cut out for them. They're going to try and advance the agenda of their campaign. They're going to try and maybe switch the narrative a little bit. But in terms of actually changing votes, this is not something that's going to have a big impact. You know, we talk about these things like they've been going on forever. There were no vice presidential debates until 1976. I voted that year. It was the first year I got to vote. They didn't have a vice presidential debate in 1980. As a matter of fact, Carter and Reagan that year had a hard time agreeing on a presidential debate. So they've become part of our political season in the last generation. And it's a useful thing to see these guys, maybe to build some name recognition. But for all the talk that you're going to hear on Fox News and everywhere else, don't expect the polls to move in the coming week.
So right now, here's where it sits. This is the Real Clear Politics average right now when you take all the aggregate of all the different polls, Scott. 47.5% to Donald Trump's 45%. And she saw, I guess, a little bit of a bump from the last debate. So when you look at that, how important is that national average right now as opposed to some of those swing state polls that you've been analyzing?
The national average is still the single most important number to look at. You know, when Heather and I talk about the swing states, if the national numbers move up for Donald Trump, his position in the swing states is going to move up. If those national numbers move up for Hillary Clinton, her numbers are going to move up in the swing states. Ultimately, it's going to be a sense of the momentum in the race. What you saw heading into the first debate, all the momentum was with Donald Trump. The Fox News poll and others after the fact showed that momentum had shifted a little bit back in the other direction. Hillary Clinton now has the advantage. But, of course, after tonight's vice presidential debate, there's two more presidential debates as well.
You know, we have the two presidential candidates that have very high unfavorables. Right. We've continually talked about that. Do you think that either one of these VP candidates can do anything this evening to change that in favor of their candidate?
No, we have two candidates who are very well known. Whether you love them or hate them, and more people dislike them than like them, your positions in terms of the general attitude towards Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are fixed. What that unfavorability means, and the reason it's so important, is it leads to more volatility in the race. When you don't have an attachment to a candidate, when you don't say, I really like that person and I really want to support them, small things can get you to shift your vote, and that's why these debates and other events in the news can have an impact.
All right, Scott, thanks for that look back at history, some of those earlier debates. Thanks, Scott.
Very interesting.